In today's video, I'm going to give you the 5 most common and biggest mistakes that I see in players' shooting forms, so let's get down to it. First off, I really want to say if you're about to change your shooting form, you shouldn't be doing any drastic changes at first. You should be doing small things and then gradually getting bigger so that you can completely change your form. You don't want to be completely changing it where to the point you just can't shoot anymore. You want to do small incremental changes so that you're basically still able to shoot at a high level, or at least some kind of a high level. So the first biggest mistake that I see a lot of is players will be over gripping this ball and trying to shoot while over gripping it. Generally speaking, this is for players who have larger hands because they just want to over grip that ball to make sure that they don't lose it, so that when they shoot, it sometimes comes off either kind of weird, or they'll have a massive thumb flick, or they could just shoot literally flat like that. And that's an easy way to really tell if you're over gripping the ball. If your shot literally shoots forward like that and has zero arc, guess what? You're probably over gripping the ball. You want it to sit nice and lightly in your hand. Kind of like in golf, you don't want to be over gripping the club. You want to have it nicely sitting in your hand so that when you go up, it just nicely flows and rolls right off your fingers. You don't want it to be over gripped because that's going to make you miss a lot of shots. So the next biggest mistake that I see a lot of is when players are shooting, what they'll do is they'll have a really low release. They'll release with their elbow below their forehead. What that basically does is it gives that ball less arc. There's a reason why you want to have a nice high release, and that is if you've got a high release, the rim looks generally bigger to the ball. Let me explain. So pretend that we're a ball right now, and you can see how the rim is kind of an oval, right? If you've got no arc, the higher you go, that would be essentially where there would be no arc. The lower we are would be the more arc. When we start getting closer and closer to the rim, underneath that rim, that would be like if we were shooting with a high arc. Picture us basically looking down at the rim instead of looking up. As we can see, the rim actually looks bigger when we're underneath that rim versus being in front of it or even in line with it way up here. And because of that, when you're shooting with more arc, the rim actually looks that big to the ball. So by shooting with a higher arc, it's going to make the rim look a lot bigger to the ball, and you're going to have a lot more swishes. It also gives the ball the ability to bounce in. Basically, we've all seen those shots, like the Kawhi Leonard shot in the NBA playoffs where that ball bounced around a million times. It basically gives you a higher margin of error when you're shooting if you're shooting with a high release. The third point is kind of controversial, and that is the thumb flick. Yes, there are a lot of really good players like Steph Curry who shoot with a thumb flick. However, that's something that has evolved in their shot and is not hindering their shot at all. However, if you're shooting with a thumb flick and you notice that when you shoot with that thumb flick that you get absolutely no spin on that ball at all, it's time to change your shooting form. Because when it comes to a thumb flick, if it's affecting your shot, whether it's giving you zero rotation or if it's giving you zero arc, at that point, you would want to change that shot. And how you can change that shot and how you can get rid of a thumb flick is this. And don't get me wrong, it's really hard to change a thumb flick. However, to change one, what you need to do is to get really close to that rim and really focus on not shooting with a thumb flick. Really focusing on your offhand to stay basically, okay, I missed, but to make sure that your thumb stays pointing back. If your thumb continues to stay back, and of course we're gonna miss some, that's okay, but if your thumb continues to face backwards, then that's good. Really try to focus on that thumb. Take a step back, and same thing. Really focus on keeping that thumb pointing backwards. Of course, I can never make a shot when I'm trying to explain things, but really try to make sure that that thumb stays pointing back. This is going to take some time. This is not something that changes overnight. This could take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But eventually, if you continue to do this drill every single day, it's going to change and it's going to really accelerate your shot and shot performance. Another big mistake that I see is players not using their lower back. And what I mean by that is they'll shoot with their shoulders way back when they take that shot. And if you're looking to get more power, if you're looking to extend your range, you're going to need to use your hips and your lower back. When you take your shot, you should be dipping your shoulders forward so that they're in line with your knees and your toes. For one, that's going to give you a lot more balanced of a shot. Number two, however, is it's going to give you more power. So when you're shooting from farther away, you shouldn't be changing how much you're pushing that ball. Your upper body should stay the exact same. It doesn't matter if you're shooting from way up close like this, where you're shooting a couple of inches away from the rim, or if you extend way out to NBA 3 or even Logo Lillard type of range. Your upper body needs to stay the exact same. It's your lower back, your hips, and your legs that need to give you more power to give you that shot that you desire. So when you go out next and you take a couple of shots, record yourself. See if you can actually get your shoulders over your knees, over your toes. When you go up, it should be one movement straight up. You don't have to be square, but that's the next point. And as long as your whole body is facing the exact same way so that you can get your shoulder and elbow in line, that should give you a fairly straight shot. All it comes down to at that point, if you're shooting like this, is now you're using more of your quads, and at that point, you're not using any of your hips. If you want to get more power, you can use your quads and your lower back to get up one single motion, and that'll give you more power. And the fifth point is going to be a massive myth that a lot of older school coaches used to teach, and some still do, and that is being squared up to the rim. You don't have to be totally squared up to try to fight to get your elbow underneath the ball. You shouldn't have to be forcing yourself to really do something like that. What you need to do is, if you're squaring up and you're shooting with your elbow out and you cannot get it under, let's say you've got large chest muscles like maybe LeBron or something like that, you need to tilt away from the rim. You need to have a slight tilt so that you can get that elbow in line. However, what I don't want to see is having that slight tilt and then trying to turn your body like this. That's not going to work. If you're really trying to get your elbow underneath that ball, because generally speaking, that's what I call the shooting triangle, your shoulder, your elbow, and the ball creates a triangle, straight line to the basket, that's going to give you a straight shot. You just need to orient your body so that that is able to happen. Now, when you do that, you need to make sure that your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your feet are all facing the same direction. You don't have to be square. They just have to be facing all the same direction. I hope that this video has helped you become a better shooter. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.